encouraging, inspiring, and empowering mothers on their parenting journey. Welcome to the Oh Baby podcast. Being a mum can be overwhelming and unrelenting, we know. Each episode, we'll be bringing you the top tips, advice, and words of wisdom from experts and industry leaders to help you navigate your own path. It's the information you can trust. Mama, you got this.
Hello and welcome to the Oh Baby podcast. I'm here today with Chantel and Tanya from Infagroup. We're going to be talking, guess what? All things Carseat. Spoiler alert, there's Carseats everywhere. So Chantel, talk to me about yourself. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry for going on 14 years now. Started off a baby retailer, and quite soon into my role there I realised that car seats were a bit of a passion of mine, so I became child restraint technician, so CRT trained, went through all the training so I could help customers install car seats into their car, and during my time there I run into an amazing company called Infagroup, and had the pleasure of selling their products, and 4 years ago came on board in New Zealand, and now I oversee the Australia and New Zealand sales for the company.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Tanya, tell us about yourself. Tell us about Infagroup as well.
Yeah, so I originally started as a volunteer for Plunket when the car seat service was still around, and I did my training as a child restraint technician. Then I moved into an injury prevention role and became a CRT trainer assessor after a few years. And then I've recently started working for Infagroup, doing training and product consultation. So I'm in retailers and stuff, doing install trainings and stuff like that. So yeah,
Awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and a little bit about Infagroup. As I alluded to before, obviously I've sold the product for many years, but the company's actually been around since 1955, so it was established in 1955 in Sydney, New South Wales. And it wasn't actually until 1990s that we started to dabble in the child restraint realm of our business, and now that makes up probably 80% of our core products that we bring to market.
Awesome.
We're a family-owned business, so we're Australian-owned and operated. We're fourth generation Australian family, so we're immensely proud of that. We still have one of our older generations, I guess you could say, pottering around doing things in the office too. So our company does have a very big family first vibe to it.
Nice.
Part of our core values. And another thing about us as well is that from the customer care team through to the sales team, through to the product team, through to our CEO, we're all really passionate about what it is we're doing in the market.
Yeah.
We care about what we're doing out there. Tanya will chat through some community work that we do that backs those values up. And another thing that we're immensely proud of is our always first mindset. And examples of those of where we have, I guess, been first to market or leaders in innovation is, one example is our very small wee little plastic clip that we have here on the child restraint. So this was brought into market because in a crash the tether could flick off the anchor point, right?
Yeah.
And so we saw that as an issue. We created the keeper clip to stop that from happening. Now that clip is on every Australian and New Zealand standard car seat that's manufactured as part of the standard. We were first to bring a turning restraint into the Australian market. First to introduce a 0 to 4 compact car seat into the Australian market. First to introduce a 0 to 8 restraint as well, and then first to introduce a Type G Seat, there's loads of things. First, introduce an unharnessed folding booster seat into the market, and I guess the most recent and the one that we're very proud of too is first to design a top tether that helps mitigate misuse in the market as well. So
nice.
we have quite a long list of the first things that we've brought to market.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I can tell that some of these things are things that I wish I would have had when I was, had babies in car seats.
And a lot of things another, I guess, big thing of our business is the community work that we do.
Right. Yeah.
That Tanya does a lot of work on, so she's probably best to talk to you about the things that we do there.
So that was really kind of one of my first introductions to Infagroup, was doing like chicken clinics and stuff where they came and supported. So we've supported community groups like Plunkett, Auckland Transport and stuff doing community-based chicken clinics where anyone in the community can have their restraint checked. Sometimes they're replaced. We've done them right from the bottom of the South Island. We've been lucky enough to be invited to Aotea on Great Barrier, doing restraint stuff there, Auckland, Christchurch, all over the place. So really cool to be able to do that community stuff where we're actually seeing the products in use, seeing the misuse rate, seeing, like what's going on in people's cars.
Yeah, good intentions, but not delivering.
Absolutely, because no one...
And they want to do the right thing.
Absolutely, no one goes out intentionally trying to do this wrong. And that's, we've got an issue in New Zealand where we've got a really high misuse rate, probably about 85%. Throughout the country, and that's those stats are coming from a lot of different organisations, so it's pretty solid data to back that up.
So you're in the community doing stuff with Plunkett as well?
We do work with Plunkett. So Auckland Transport, any community groups that reach out for help, we're really keen to support the work that they do, because it's amazing and it's really, really important work.
It's a good why, isn't it? Like, protecting your people's babies.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good way. That's awesome. So when I think car seats, I think back to a new mum perspective, and it was really hard getting my head around what to buy, how to install them. I actually always found car seats a little bit of a headache, like latching things on, getting things, onto seat belts and, trauma already. So what do you see in the market? Like, how's this looking now?
So like Tanya mentioned, obviously the misuse rate in New Zealand is very high. I mean, the misuse rate in Australia is also very high. It's not just a New Zealand thing. And it's what, 85% that we're seeing out there, sometimes higher. But on average, and that comes down to, I guess, the very unique market landscape that we have here in New Zealand. We are one of the only countries in the world to accept 3 different safety standards.
Right.
And the 3 different safety standards all work in 3 different ways.
Right.
And Tanya can talk a little bit more on, I guess, some of the vehicle stuff as well, because it's not just car seats that there's a mismatch with. And it's, like you say, a headache. So Tanya, did you want to go through?
So we're trying to fit 3 different standards of restraints into a fleet of vehicles that is very, very fast. We've got European cars, we've got Japanese imports, we've got all kinds of things, and we're trying to make restraints that are kind of tailored towards a specific type or a vehicle, fit in everything. And just a brief rundown on how to identify the standards. We see seats with chest clips, so they are generally American standard seats. And then we've got European standard, which generally use a puzzle buckle, so puzzles they go one on top of each other and then go in. And we're manufactured to the New Zealand Australian joint standard, which is really easily identifiable by height markers. One of the things that is really cool about the New Zealand Australian standard is how often it's reviewed and revised, and what how it's intended to be user-friendly as possible. So and I think it was about 2010 they ditched weight limits and introduce height markers.
Right,
So it's really easy for parents and caregivers to identify, is this restraint suitable for my child? Does it need to be rear facing? Does it need to be forward facing? Have they outgrown it?
Right.
By removing some of those barriers to how things are quite difficult.
Yeah.
So that's...
I think too, from having the 3 different standards, and there's a lot more detail into the different standards, from how they install the testing that goes behind them, and then to back that up, there's also a lack of education in the New Zealand market as well about what standards do what, because not every car seat is built the same. And as Tanya mentioned before, not every car is built the same, so it's not a cookie cutter, pick it up off the shelf and put it into my car and it's going to work type scenario, unfortunately. Here in our market, so it is a little bit different to the rest of the world.
So, yay for Kiwi parents. It pays to go and see an expert, huh?
Yeah,
totally.
100%.
Wow, crazy. And so, so what are the key types of restraints available? And tell me about them. I know we have some here, so could be take me through.
So a lot of parents start off with an infant capsule. So depending on the standard, it could have a base. It could be one that we install what we call baseless, so just using the seatbelt. They are a very convenient option, especially for winter babies and stuff. You're not, you're rugging them up inside or putting them in the restraint inside and then putting it into the base or into the vehicle in the car. Or you've got the likes of a 0 to 4 here, which is a newborn to a large 4-year-old kind of option. Or there are restraints that go from birth all the way through to like a large 8-year-old. It just kind of depends on what you need for your vehicle, for your family. What are we trying to fit in?
We are seeing more 3-across combinations
I was going to say.
With families. Tanya's a little bit of a 3-across guru when it comes to fitting things through.
The juggle. the puzzle is real.
How do I avoid buying a van?
Exactly.
So Chantal mentioned earlier we were first to bring a Type G to the market. So the New Zealand Australian Standard classifies the seats in types, so it's also easy to know what you need to buy. So Type G is something like this. It uses an internal harness the whole time, right up to a large 8-year-old. So something like this is really good for 3 across because we're not trying to do up seatbelts in between other car seats with the booster.
And are they all still connected to the car seat and the car and with the tethers?
So top tether use is mandatory for the New Zealand Australian Standard. So this is the strap that goes and attaches to the anchor point in your vehicle. So the New Zealand Australian Standard has the highest level of mandatory testing out of any of them, and this plays a really, really crucial role. So in a forward-facing restraint, it limits the forward movement of the seat. But it also limits how far the child's head comes out of the restraint as well. So it does a really, really important job. And when we're using a rear-facing tether, for example, so this one here is just attached to the base, it limits the side rotation of the seat and how far front and back it goes. So by limiting the movement of the seat, it limits the movement of the child as well, so it absorbs that crash energy.
I'm looking at this and seeing side impact pod, and I felt it because I thought, is this going to be squishy? But it's actually hard. But like the inside here is a bit squishy and nice to, that's not hard.
So the technology behind this is actually really cool. So these are designed to limit the secondary rotation of the child's head, to keep their head inside here so that the padding and the energy absorption material inside here can do its job. So it looks like something very, very simple, but it does a really amazing thing.
I tell you what, my oldest child has just recently purchased a car, and I've been looking at all the crash test ratings and safety ratings of cars, and it's interesting because often the safety ratings for adults as opposed to children are higher than the safety rating for children. So that's where car seats like this come into play, because it increases their safety. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay. Makes you feel a little bit more at peace, knowing that you're they're in good hands. It's being tested. Listening to what you're saying, is it like, am I hearing kind of the Australia and New Zealand standards are probably better?
We'd like to say yes, because that's what we manufacture too. But we've got a really, really high level of mandatory testing that's done. There's only 2 testing facilities that any New Zealand Australian manufacturer can use for their testing. So there's no getting around it. Chantal might explain a little bit more about the process to get a seat to market with the testing.
So basically, we obviously come up with the design of a product, right? So product team sits there and goes, look, what gap do we have in the market? Let's take a capsule, for example, right? 75% of people using a capsule in Australia, it's Australian data from New South Wales, weren't attaching that top tether when they were installing it. And as Tanya mentioned before, it limits our side rotational movement, it limits the amount of movement we have. It's a really important piece of the restraint, right? And about 4 or 5 years ago, we got the data back that 75% of people weren't using it. So we, as a team,
because it was an additional loop, an additional step.
Oh yes, I remember that.
So basically, the product team saw that there was a gap in the market and started, I guess, the design of this product here. And what goes into that from a testing point of view, there's huge amounts of R&D work. There's ensuring that, we're sending it for testing. And if something falters on a test, then it's full back to design, changing how it works. I mean, they explain it far better than I do, but changing how it works, but then also bringing that supporting document of what you've changed, what you found, what you've changed, and then retesting as well. And so there's full traceability through all of the test process. Some of the other standards, it's not quite as clean cut as that. It's, you take it to a facility, it's tested. If it fails there, then there's not a lot of traceability of what's happened with that seat, whereas with our standard there's full traceability from a testing point of view, and also from a product component point of view as well. So we have, as part of our safety standard, full traceability of when this buckle was made.
What day it came into the factory.
For stitching, bobbin has run out of thread. What day that happened within the batch numbers.
Oh wow.
So a very high level of traceability to capture anything that would happen when we've got product out in market. So if we have product out in market and there, it's something that is not right with it, stitching, buckle, whatever, we can then go back to our traceability charts and find the batch from that day, that shift, these products, which gives you a sense of, I guess, a sense of
reassurance, really.
Yeah. It's that peace of mind. It's like buying sustainably with your clothing and stuff. It's like, I know that, those people that have those, I made your clothes, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. And we have introduced a lot of sustainable materials and practices into the manufacturing process as well, which is really cool. Like all our packaging and that kind of stuff. So it's a big focus at the moment with the product team.
So cool. So, okay. Bit off script. I'd love to kind of, have a bit of a touch and play. I'm just noticing like little things like this, this is going to easily come down. It's not, just kind of taps under. It's not going to get in babies. Like, how do you undo this?
So, to undo it, there's a wee lever.
Lift and release.
And then this just pops off.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah, so really nice and
I used to
easy.
have this nightmare thing where I had to click and it had to be clicked
hold
at
your
the same
tongue right.
time. And,
Yeah,
oh my
jump on
gosh.
one leg.
I
Yeah.
want to feel, it's nice.
And
Good
really nice,
way.
easy things like an inbuilt belt lock off, so you're not using locking clips and stuff to keep your seatbelt secure. Isofix if you've got that option in your vehicle.
Gosh, that's changed too, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
very different. That looks very secure and sturdy.
And nice, so you might be able to see here, so this is red, and then when it's pulled to the correct tension, it's giving you a green indicator to show that that's correct. So just trying to make things parent friendly.
Exactly. It's like, yep, I've got it right.
Yeah, you've got a new baby. Stuff's hard enough as it is. We don't need to make it more
Don't need
complicated.
to go to Carseat University.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want our our customers to feel confident using the product.
Yeah,
It's something that you use every day, and you need to know, be confident that you can use it comfortably.
Have you guys got videos on site to just install? How do you do it?
Yeah, so we're working on a suite of videos that we have on our website.
Oh, cool.
So infagroup.co.nz.
Infagroup.co.nz. Okay, we've got that one. So what are these two buttons here? Is that more of the same clicking, moving?
So those are to release it from an adapter for a stroller. So they can be used. This can be used as part of a travel system.
That's cool.
So yeah, really cool design for that. It is also aircraft compatible as well. So it's got a belt path for using it on an aircraft if you wanted to.
And then you've got the insert for your newborn.
Yep.
To take home from the hospital.
Yep.
So must have.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't
absolutely.
take your baby home.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of designing this. So one of the issues that we've seen a lot is what we call chin to chest. So when a newborn baby's head,
which isn't good for breathing.
Absolutely, yeah. So the insert is designed for the child's head to naturally sit back in a position that keeps the airway open.
Oh, yes, I see
Yeah,
that because their neck's kind of tilting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it keeps it nice and open for them.
How do you test that? Do you have lots of babies on hold? Hey guys, bring your baby in today. No, I'm just joking.
I'm sure there's science around. We're really lucky to have quite a gifted set of engineers in our product team. So they're the smarts behind all of the things.
Imagine the technical drawings. My other daughter's doing technical drawing now. I'm like,
yeah, definitely.
It's so cool.
As Tanya mentioned before, obviously there's buttons here to go on to stroller for stroller compatibility. There's 30 odd strollers I think in the market that these are compatible with.
Oh, wow.
But just one thing to note, talking about that airway as well, capsules and stroller compatibility are designed for small trips. So trips to the hospital, to the doctors, to the supermarket, when you're going to be out just for a small time. If we're out all day with baby, take them out of their car seat and lay them flat in their stroller. That's sort of one thing that we do see around the place is that babies are in the capsules outside of the car. When it's outside of the car, it has a slightly different angle to it.
Right,
Which can obviously affect the open airway that we're trying to achieve when it's in the car. So,
that's good to know.
So if we're out for a whole day, baby needs to be flat.
Shall we put this one back and then tell me more about this one? So this is, what sort of age, height, weight range? Which one are we doing on this?
So 0 to a large 6-month-old. Most kids are going to be about 12 months old by the time they actually reach the height marker. It just depends on where they carry their height. But usually you're going to use a capsule for about 6 to 12 months.
Okay, cool, awesome. And then this one here, I can see that already that it's adaptable. You've got inserts and stuff. So kind of age range-ish, height range.
0 to a large 4-year-old, kind of average 6-year-old.
You want to swap it over and put it up there? Yeah, sure. So you can show them the time on it.
Oh, I'm attached.
I won't move too far. So you put it in the position you need to. Oh wow!
This reclines right back.
Oh, so it's kind of like this, but like not.
Yep. So some families choose to use a convertible from birth instead of going for the capsule.
Yeah.
And it just grows. So if you pull that lever there, you can pull it up. So as baby grows, the seat grows with them.
Easy.
And then it converts to a forward-facing restraint, and then we can take inserts and all of that kind of stuff out. So it grows with the child. So it's a really good option if you want something that's going to last a bit longer.
And it feels like it's got like that memory foam sort of.
Yeah, there's lots of padding and stuff in here. This is this bamboo? Yes, it's a bamboo charcoal blend fabric, so it's a really nice breathable fabric as well.
Yeah.
And you can see the height markers here. So this is what we call an A4 restraint. So it offers extended rear facing.
Well, there's 3 markers there.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I see 3. Yeah.
So loosen this harness off. We can lift this headrest right out.
Oh, I probably don't like.
So these are the 2 rear facing markers. So you have to rear face until the child's shoulders reach this one. So that's what we're talking about with height markers and being nice and easy to understand.
And it says that.
Yeah. Says that right there.
So good.
And then once they reach the top of this marker, they have to be forward facing. So you turn it around forward facing.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. So good. And it's got kind of your instructions and stuff here as well for your forward and
Yeah.
the air barrier cushions here.
Yeah.
It's
So that's similar to the pods here.
Yeah.
Which limit
Yeah.
that head movement.
Fantastic.
Did you want to show the tether when you were facing?
Sure. So we discussed the tethers and stuff as part of the standard.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yes.
this is what a tether looks like in the rear facing position, because a lot of seats, the American standard for example, uses a tether forward facing but not rear facing generally. Some of the new European standard ones are bringing in top tether use.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it more and more, so parents are they're getting used to the fact that there is a top tether.
Yeah.
So got it all twisted up here.
You look at the tether.
I know, right?
First. Yeah.
So pretend you're the anchor point in the car that's going to come up to the parcel tray or the back of your seat.
Yeah.
And it comes across the door there. And a lot of people are like, oh, how am I going to get this baby in and out of here with this strap in the way?
Yeah.
We like to make it nice and easy by having the adjuster right there, and it drops it down out of the way. So tether drops down, you pop baby in, and then you're going to snug that tether up again.
Yeah.
We're not going to have it all twisted like this. We want it nice and flat, but you can see how in a crash that strap limits that rotation that way, and then how far front and back it goes.
I remember the capsule that we had a base as well, but I was just like, it's just so relaxed and wobbly in here, like, definitely come a bit further in that time.
Yeah.
That's good. Always progressing.
Absolutely.
Is that one?
So that's that
Shall we
one.
have a look at this one?
Yep.
This is the fun part because I get to play with this.
Yeah. So this one here,
Are we going to jump out?
yeah, can do it.
Awesome. So, height range here.
So this one harnesses.
Oh, look, it's got a cup holder.
Yeah.
Did we just notice this?
Super important.
Yeah, cup holders, raisin holders.
Like drink on one side, food on the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Just make sure you clean them and gals get SCOTY. And that's what I do.
We tricked for these actually that a mum was installing a seat course. She used silicone muffin trays in the cup holder. So you pull out the muffin tray, give it a wash and pop it back in.
Yes.
You're not scraping stuff out of it.
That is a very good idea. Clever mum.
So this is what we call a type G, so it's a fully harnessed restraint. So the exit marker for this one is right up here at about 51 centimetres. So it's the highest.
Some adults could be sitting in.
Absolutely. We work with a technician and she actually fits in one of these. So my son, he's nearly 10, he's 10 in January, and he still fits in one of these. So a really good option for those kids that just can't sit still, they've got ants in their pants. or you've got 3 across and it's a tight squeeze and you haven't got room to do a booster up.
Yeah.
But the really nice thing about these is you're using that harness for as long as possible, which helps spread the crash forces evenly. It's got more contact with the body.
I've even seen like billboards where guys have got bruises where the seatbelts and stuff are. So this is what you want for your kids anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
With our Type G seats, they have an entry marker, which is slightly different to these ones here, which are from newborns. So the shoulders have to be above the line for the child to fit in the restraint.
Right.
The reason I point that out is because some of the restraints under our standard have got an age range that's attached to them.
Right.
The height marker trumps any age range. So if we have a forward face from 12 months as an example, if the shoulders aren't above that line, they're too small for it.
Right.
Same goes for a rearward facing restraint, even though it might say rearward facing to a large 12-month-old. If they're under that marker, they can continue to rearward face till they hit that marker.
Right.
So the height limits on our restraints trump anything from an age range point of view.
My girl was, all my kids were all incredibly tall, so they would have been from missing the catch or almost like they were just giants, actual giants. Okay, that's good to know.
Our seats also are height based on seated height.
Yeah.
So depending on where they hold their height.
Yeah.
So if you've got a kid who's got massively long legs, but short torso.
Oh yes, I've seen like videos of people sitting together, and then you're like, whoa.
And it's quite funny because I've seen videos that some independent technicians have done where they've got a whole bunch of kids that are around like the 8-year-old limit, I think it is, which is our legislation of when kids can technically go out of a child restraint. We obviously recommend best practice, which Shana's going to talk to a little bit more in detail.
Yeah.
But the ranges of kids are so different, and their heights are so different, and their torso heights are so different. So not every kid is the same as well. So your long legs are great. We can harness to high school.
Short torsos. Oh, cool. So this is great. ACT, HIP. What are all these acronyms? What does that mean?
The thing. So ACT is what we call air cocoon technology.
Yeah.
So our shells are a double layer. So they've got air inside the shell.
Yeah.
And that is designed to, on impact, to cocoon around the child. And there's certain points in the shell where the air will come out to absorb that energy.
So cool. It's like sciencey.
Yeah, absolutely.
My son would love this.
Yeah. So ACT, we've got HIP, which is head impact protection, which is foam, a high density foam inside the headrest. Yeah. So there's some really cool features.
And all your base models have this technology.
They all have either the HIP or ACT.
They do,
Depending
on the models.
Cool. Awesome. That's good. I'm just making sure that I have covered the things that I wanted to talk about.
Did you want to talk about the ACT with secure air and how it...
Yeah. Cool. So I might pull this down here if we can, just because I'm going to pull this apart.
I'm glad I picked this. It's really hard to pull apart. Just with the sliding.
All our covers are machine washable, which makes it super parent friendly.
Oh, right. You can pull it up over your pod.
Pull it over the pods here. So this little yellow pad here is what we call secure air. So that's an additional layer of air. So we've got the 3 layers of side impact protection here. By adding this little pad here, we exceed the mandatory side impact testing requirements by 5 times the standard.
Oh, wow.
It makes a massive, massive difference in a side impact crash, and that's what we tend to do most in New Zealand, a lot of side impact crashes.
Right. Yeah. And they're the ones that are sitting by the doors. I don't even want to think about that.
Absolutely. So all these little wee things make a massive difference in a crash. And we don't set out on a journey to crash, but it happens. And about 80% of crashes that happen within about 5 k's of your house. And we see that a lot of people are like, before holidays, or we're going on a big trip, can I get my car seat checked? When statistically, your everyday driving around your neighbourhood is when you're going to, so it's a really important thing to make sure that you know how to use your restraint every time you're using it, not just when you're going on a long drive.
And as Tanya mentioned before, just in regards to the testing, from a side impact point of view, obviously for us that's our biggest area of risk, right? So we test for frontal impact, for rear impact, we test for side impact, we replicate a rollover test, we also do some testing on the crutch buckle here. All of these hard parts here are designed to rotate outwards and away from the child's genital area. So there's all of these things that are mandatory for our standard. From our side impact testing point of view, we don't just test at 90 degrees because cars don't crash perfect. So generally, if you're in a side impact, you're probably swerving to get out of the way, right?
Oh, right,
And so we come in, we do a blex testing, so we send the restraint down the sled at different angles as well, just to make sure from a side impact point of view, the child is fully protected. So there is a huge level of testing that goes into an Australian New Zealand standard child restraint.
Yeah. It's so good. Actually, I'm thinking we're talking about a podcast right now. Guys, go watch this on YouTube because it's far more interesting when you've got the products on YouTube. Go watch the video. Otherwise, we're just like, that's really interesting. And it's cool to look at these products and play with them. So this is all really good to know. So if I'm a mum, first-time mum, haven't bought a car seat yet. How do we choose the right restraint for our child? What should we be looking for?
So I'd probably start by looking at something that's going to allow what we call best practice use.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, best practice is rear facing as long as possible. And we want kids rear facing to at least 2. So you want to max out the limits of that restraint.
Oh my gosh, I didn't do that.
And then we want to harness as long as possible.
Yeah.
And then we want to use a booster as long as possible. So something that's going to allow you to do that is probably top priority.
Yeah.
It also needs to fit your budget. Everyone has a budget, and there's really safe options to fit everybody's budget. Also, what does your family look like? Do you need something that's 3-cross friendly? Do you have a tiny car and a giant driver? There's a lot of factors to consider. So, I recommend that people go in with a wish list. I want a seat to do this. So you've got those things that are important to you when you go into a store, or if you're talking to an independent technician or someone asking for advice.
And also where you're putting it into, right? Like what car you're putting it into. Because like I mentioned before, it's not just pick up off the shelf and stick it into a vehicle. Because each vehicle is very different.
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily just an easy buy online situation. It's, hey, this is the type of car I've got, this is the kind of use I'm thinking, this is my family makeup, what do you recommend kind of situation. And going to like special stores like with experts in. Or trained people?
Seeking advice from a child restraint technician is a really good idea. There's a lot of resources online. We've got a lot on our website. And just thinking about who's using the restraint, things like twist and lift, for example. So this is a headrest that adjusts the harness for you. So as you raise the headrest, the harness moves. So it's a really great option for grandparents that are using a restraint for multiple grandchildren. And all they have to do is change that. They're not rethreading straps and having to know, how heavy is this child or how tall are they standing and that kind of stuff. So really think about how the restraint's going to be used so that you can fit.
Good point. So what are your key do's and don'ts and tips in this space?
There's a lot. Some of them seem to be very common sense, but we see it, unfortunately, in the market. So the biggest thing is don't have a child on your lap when your car is moving. We see that. Children are designed to be in restraints because restraints help protect them in the vehicle. So if the car is moving, the child needs to be in the restraint. don't use a restraint that's too big or too small for your child. So maxing those limits out for sure, but not overextending those limits. Making sure that once we've outgrown our height markers, we're moving it to the next position. Or if we've got inserts that need to come out at a certain time, making sure we're pulling those inserts out. If we have a crutch buckle that needs to be extended, extending the crutch buckle out. So you're just making sure that the child restraint fits the child that's using it. And I guess one of the big things is don't buy something just because your friend has it. So as we've said, we have standards. Your friend may have a seat that is this brand, but that brand can come in 3 different safety standards.
Right.
So,
and again, it's, different cars, different children,
100%.
all those things.
So it might not fit your situation. So like Tony says, have your wish list of what you want and what you need. And really try go, and obviously we're going to take advice from our friends and family, but really think about how the restraint is going to work for you. In winter, make sure we take jackets off baby, because we want the harness to be as close to their body as we possibly can. And that goes for us too. We shouldn't wear big puffer jackets because there's obviously space that compresses in a crash, which gives us space to move.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so harness and seatbelt needs to be as close to our strongest parts of our body as possible. So we take jackets off and then we lay out on top of, we put baby in the cab and a blanket on top of.
So a trick that we like to teach parents is the pinch test. So once the child's in the restraint, you want to snug the harness up enough so that you can't pinch the webbing at their shoulders. If you can pinch it, it's too loose. If your fingers slide off and you can't pinch it, that's the perfect snugness. So everyone can do the pinch test the same. There used to be a lot of advice about 2 fingers or 1 finger or whatever under the harness, but that's going to be different for everyone. Whereas the pinch test is what we call gold standard. That's a really good way of determining if the harness is tight enough. So we want it nice and flat with no twists, because if there's twists, the crash energy can be concentrated in those areas. So nice and flat, passing the pinch test, and we want the restraint to pass what we call the inch test. So pinch test and inch test are really, really good go-tos for checking. So we want less than 1 inch of movement in the restraint at the belt path. So where the seat belt or the ISOFIX is coming through, you want to give it a wee test here and make sure there's less than 1 inch of movement there.
Okay, that's good to know. So good.
And I guess from a do point of view, is like do your research, have a look, have a play around, make sure that you can use the seat, because again, just because something's a price point or it's the latest and greatest, if you can't use it properly, then it's not going to do what it's designed to do. And one thing that I stress a lot when we do seminars, to the point I must have it in about 8 different slides, is read your instructions. Actually,
it's something I prepared.
Because
something Infagroup prepared.
It's really great to seek advice from a technician. Like, that's awesome. They have the expert advice to give you. But if you're going to a technician to install your seat for you, make sure they're teaching you how to install the seat, because at 3 o'clock in the morning when you need to change the car seats over because you need to take baby to the hospital, that technician's not going to come around to your house and do it, if you get a warrant of fitness and they undo your seatbelt because they need to check it, that technician's not there to reinstall your car seat. So reading your instruction manual, learning how to install it is probably like the biggest advice from a do's point of view. Good tip.
Recline for rear facing.
So great. So that's we touched a little bit earlier about the asphyxiation risk. So we want to make sure that the restraint is at the appropriate recline, generally around about 45 degrees. So some restraints will have like a recline angle on them, an indicator to check. I use an app on my phone that you can put in the back of your restraint. So your recline angles are really important for that airway issue, but also for crash energy absorption.
I love that you touched on, the grandparent side of things. So even teaching them how to use it, what to
100%.
do. Yeah.
And that's why finding something that's easy to use is really important, because an installed correctly car seat is going to be much more beneficial in a crash than an incorrectly installed car seat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you want to talk through, obviously we mentioned best practice before, but obviously that's a buzzword, best practice. Do we want to run through what best practice is and how it links up to legislation?
Yes, please. I mean, whatever. Yes.
So the law here in New Zealand is fairly minimal at best, right? So child must be in an approved child restraint up until their 7th birthday, right? And up until their 8th birthday, they have to be in an approved child restraint if there's one in the vehicle. From 8 to 14, they must be in adult station lap belt. And then from 14, they're no longer the driver's responsibility, essentially. So that's why there's the age there for 14. So if we notice, 14.
Yeah, once they're 15, they get their own no seatbelt fines.
They get their own fines. Best practice, though, is obviously rearward facing for as long as you possibly can, minimum of 2, but more if your seat allows you to. And then using our internal harness again for as long as you can, because they're the heaviest parts of the child secured into the restraint. And then to booster to 148 centimetres. Now, 148 centimetres, because I know adults that are 148 centimetres. 148 centimetres, there's a reason behind it, that magic number. Tanya's really good at explaining the reasons behind the rearward facing to 2, at least, and then the 148 centimetres.
Yeah, so rearward facing, obviously a baby or a young child's head in comparison with your body is massive. And the vertebrae aren't.
It's okay, Google.
Yeah, promise.
I love it. Just the way you are.
Just pop that head on. And also the vertebrae they're not what we call ossified. So the bones are still lots of little parts. So in an impact, if they're facing forwards, that head has got a lot of weight behind it. So we want to use the back of the restraint when they're refacing. It keeps the head and the spine all aligned and absorbs that energy. So it's going to stop the head from coming forward. It's going to protect their spinal cord, which is really, really important. So that's the behind the rear facing thing. A lot of kids can comfortably rear face till 4 or 5 beyond. So the longer they can rear face, the better. We don't need to worry about their legs being bent, or they'll bend their legs, cross their legs, put them up the back of the seat. That's not a safety concern. And then an adult seatbelt is designed to fit a person around 148 centimetres. Another really important thing to factor in though is, has the child gone through puberty? Because that changes the shape of their hips and their pelvis to keep the seatbelt down low.
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
That relatable.
Yeah.
Teenage girls, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So in a younger child, the hips and the pelvis are quite curved, so that the seatbelt can slide up into the soft tissue there. Whereas in an adult, it's got a bit of an angle to it, and it can hold that down.
Right.
We really want to make sure that the lap belt is low across the top of the lap, and that the sash portion is in contact with your collarbone. So you're getting those strong parts of your body, and that's what a booster does. It boosts the child up so that the seatbelt fits correctly. It also offers a bit of side impact protection as well. For a full booster.
So good. This has been so helpful. I feel very empowered. I'm sure our listeners will be feeling very I know what I'm looking for. Henceforth, I shall. I'm going to go see an expert technician to help me make sure I've installed my current car seat, or get a new one, or go and get one. So
and there's certainly not a silly question when it comes to restraints. We do checking clinics quite a lot. We're very fortunate to be able to do that, and as Tanya mentioned before, people don't go out intentionally wanting to do it wrong. They want to do their best. And it's all about education. It's about showing them how to do it so they leave empowered, like you say, to really own their restraint and how it fits in their car.
It's not like you're going to use it, it's not a 5-minute use. You're going to be using this for, a few years, multiple children potentially. So it's worth getting invested in spending an hour with a technician to set them up for safety.
And there's a lot of stigma around it as well. Like, we want people asking questions. We want people to have the knowledge and, to feel comfortable instead of, I'm too scared to ask that.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still ask really silly questions sometimes when it comes to our safety standards. Because obviously we're experts in this standard, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll get to a checking clinic and I'll be like, Tanya, I just need a bit of help with this one. Like, no question is a silly question. No one knows all the answers. We're all learning in life, so...
Yeah. So good. So helpful too. So, resources. Where can we get more info?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of info on our website, infagroup.co.nz. You can also go to the NZTA website or Google, find your child restraint technician. And that will give you a list of local technicians in your area.
There's some good information on the Plunket website as well. And Auckland Transport are in the process of putting some really cool resources together, which will be available to people. So that's worth keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Checked all the resources off the list.
Yes.
So infagroup.co.nz. Have a listen to this awesome podcast. Watch it on YouTube preferably. Otherwise we're just going to be like, what the heck are they talking about? But yeah, it's been awesome and enlightening, and I'm really excited about how safe our kids are now in comparison. But my kids are still not. Anyway, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having us, Andrew. It's been fantastic.
Thanks for listening to the Oh Baby podcast. If you've found this episode useful and encouraging, make sure to share it with your village so that more mothers can feel empowered. Head to obaby.co.nz for more from us, and don't forget to subscribe. Mama, you got this. Till next time.